die. Go too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we are going to take a look at a replay sent in by Old Dog. Yes, and he's in his Bismarck today, and this was actually Old Dog's first game in his Bismarck, and it turned out to be a pretty good game. You know, at least for me, it doesn't happen very often where the maiden voyage ends in a great success, but it was nice to see it happen to someone else. Now, we are on the new map, newer map, I should say, because there has obviously since been more maps released, but anyway, Haven. And we've talked about this map a little before, and generally what I like to do, and it's kind of what takes place here as well, when I'm in the north here, and I do start over here towards the west, is I really do enjoy using that island, that large island. I think it's C, D, E, starts at E and ends at F, I guess. Along, you know, it runs north to south. Using that island as cover as I get myself into position. Now, this is a great strategy when there are other cap zones, right? When there's 4 cap zones, you're playing domination. This being standard battle, maybe not as important to get yourself into that position right away. With the standard battle, you do have the luxury of sort of waiting to see what the enemy does, because the only thing that you really have to worry about too much, I guess, is the overall time. Now, obviously, your team plays a huge role in that, and we do see that in this game, Old Dog's team is pretty good. But, you know, you do have time there at the beginning in the standard battle to sort of sit back and see what's going to happen. Domination, pretty important to get yourself into a position where you're able to either defend a cap, contest a cap, maybe take a cap, do something with a cap, basically. So we're running down here into the south. We caught a quick glimpse there of the enemy enemy battleships off in the distance, and we'll take a few pot shots off. And this reminds me, now obviously, you know, I took pretty much all of April, most of April off from ships myself, but just before I did take that break, I recall that there were changes made to detectability, right? So in any ship now, as soon as you fire your guns, you are going to be detected. No more stealth firing. And I recall there being a big uproar about this, and I'm not sure what has happened since then, but I can say from my personal experience, playing ships as much as I have over the past few days, I don't really find it's that big of a deal. It is something else that I, do take in consideration now before, especially in a destroyer, before I open fire with my guns, or in a cruiser. Not so much in a battleship, to be honest, unless I'm trying to be stealthy. But it doesn't really impede me that much. I have found the captain ability priority target is something that I make great use of, and it is incredibly important now, even more than it was before. And that really, provides a sort of good guide for me, is when I open fire with my guns as to whether or not I'm going to be shot at and whatnot. So I've been enjoying it. And it just makes things, I guess it just makes the playstyle a little different, but I don't think it has had the negative effects that people were screaming and crying about before, the changes actually took effect. Now, you do see we got a quick secondary kill there against that enemy destroyer, but it does look, unfortunately, like we may take some torpedoes. So those torpedoes, oh, yes. I love when that happens. It's the best feeling in the world. It's like, oh, okay, right, you're trying to rationalize it in your head, like, oh, I'm going to take 3 torpedoes, and maybe I'll survive, and I got my repair and my heal, and that's good, so, yeah, it's alright. But then they just disappear. Yes. Best feeling in the world. You're on cloud 9 at this point in time. So anyway, we continue our push to the south, and I like too that Old Dog wasn't, just sort of pushing right in there all willy-nilly without any sort of support, right? We do see his allied North Carolina here on the port side, basically right next to him, providing a lot of support, and we can see that North Carolina just took out that enemy Hipper, so hooray. Now, we do have an enemy Nagato. I believe that's an enemy Nagato over there that we do want to pay attention to. The Nagato is quite the battleship at tier 7. She does have some weakness in terms of her armor, and it's nothing that a Bismarck can't deal with anyway. But, you know, if the Nagato does stay at range, the Nagato guns are going to be a little more accurate than what you can find on the Bismarck. And, you know, a Nagato at range is a pretty decent target, or a pretty, you know, decent threat, I should say. You'll still be able to get citadels on her if your shells do actually land, but, you know, the German battleships and their dispersion really does come into play when we start talking about greater and greater distances. So we get a few shots off there at the enemy Nagato with their guns that were all loaded and ready to go for that Hipper, but the Hipper's gone. We see some enemy torpedoes coming in from that enemy destroyer, and it doesn't look like our friend in the North Carolina is going to be as lucky as we were a while ago. But we do still manage to take out the enemy destroyer and save our friend North Carolina here. Now, North Carolina did take some torpedoes, so it's a little tragic, but we got ourselves a secondary kill, so that's not too bad at all. Plus a devastating strike. I think that the enemy destroyer was detonated. Is that what happened? I don't know. I was ranting at the time, so I'm not 100% sure. But we'll just say, no, it wasn't detonation. Old Dog got all the damage there, so hooray. Anyway, our secondary batteries are going off on any target that is within range. Do keep in mind as well with the replay system, you know, when you click on a target, that these things don't show up in these replays. So we'll just have to assume that Old Dog is doing that. We can see the Nagato is returning fire on our enemy, or our allied North Carolina, which is a little tragic for us because we do want our North Carolina to survive as long as possible. Because right now North Carolina is absorbing a lot of shots for us. Enemy Nagato though is now closing the distance, so we can see the Nagato just took a big hit there from North Carolina. We're getting our guns around, and hopefully we are going to do a bit of damage. Now, Nagato doesn't, we talked about weakness and the armor, you know, at range, broadside like this, Nagato really is not going to do very well. Now, unfortunately for Old Dog, he is getting some pretty crap shots in here, just in terms of, you know, the dispersion and what's going out. Just total RNG on that, but whatever. Nagato is gone, and it was fairly quick to deal with that Nagato. Now, enemy Bismarck off in the distance. I love fighting Bismarck versus Bismarck because the secondary batteries just start lighting each other up. It's great. But, I mean, we can't really not take advantage of this enemy NorCal driving or sailing in a straight line. It's similar, I mean, we just talked about the Nagato in a straight line, right? Same thing on the North Carolina. You don't want to sail your ship in a straight line like that. I mean, really, in any ship, you don't want to sail in a straight line, but if we're going to talk battleships, probably the safest battleship to sail in a straight line with is going to be Bismarck and above, because it's pretty hard to citadel these ships, you know, Bismarck especially, so you'll still probably take a bunch of damage if the enemy shots are good, but chances are you're not going to get citadeled, which would result in like massive alpha damage that we see oh so often. So enemy North Carolina is now sailing away from us, it looks like. Player just put out the fire, but it does now seem as though the enemy Bismarck is going to become the center of our attention now. So if we just notice, the battle has gone fairly quickly, and it has gone very positively for Old Dog's team, right? We can see that his team is doing their part in taking down the enemy ships pretty quickly, and we only do have, what is that, 5 enemy ships remaining, so that is not too bad at all, considering we've only lost 3 ships so far. Enemy Bismarck secondary batteries are coming in on us, you know, it seems to be not too big of a deal. My biggest, I guess not gripe, concern with the Bismarck secondaries is that they just keep firing, and they keep you on fire. I mean, it's great when you're in the Bismarck and it's happening, but when you are on the receiving end of these guns, it's just the worst. I mean, all I want to do is run away, just run away and get myself out beyond their range as quick as I possibly can. Speaking about German secondaries on battleships, the Tirpitz got a nice little buff to its secondary range. I recall, I think it's up to 7 kilometers now, which puts it in line with ships like the guys now, which is pretty good. I mean, the what was it, like 4.5 or 4.8 or something ridiculous stock like that. It was just awful. Made no sense. And then the Bismarck, the Bismarck comes out, and it really did change the game. So finally, Wargaming has gone ahead and done that, so this is good. So So shots go into the enemy Bismarck. We can see we do manage to get some nice damage in that salvo there, and our secondary batteries are just tearing up this enemy Bismarck. Once the enemy Bismarck goes down, we can then hopefully start focusing back onto that enemy NorCal. See if we can't get that player sunk as well. Enemy Bismarck goes down, one of our allies manages to finish him off, so that's not too bad at all. We do have the enemy NorCal in our sights, but it's always good to take a look around, see what we have going on the minimap. We'll see that a few enemy ships are spotted. Enemy destroyer there up in the north. There's not a whole lot we're going to be able to do against this player. Enemy NorCal, though, I mean, even though the player is sailing away from us, we should, be able to do a little bit of damage if some of our shots do actually land on the ship. That would be great. And we see another enemy vessel there. Well, we briefly saw one anyway, so we'll just start sailing, full speed, straight line, right into the enemy cap. See what we can do. We'll notice that the enemy destroyer there on our port side up in the north is taking quite a beating from some of our allies up there. Not surprising. Not surprising. Again, the team is playing an excellent game this match. And there we go. Enemy destroyer is gone. Just the enemy NorCal, and I think it's... I'm not sure what the other ship is. No idea. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. Enemy ship, there's 2 of them remaining. We, on the other hand, have only lost 5 allied vessels this battle, so that's not too bad at all. Now, it is all of our destroyers, and it's kind of sad. I mean, a destroyer, we talked about before, but a destroyer in late game battle is a very, very, very deadly threat. So, if a destroyer captain can manage to survive the battle, there's most likely going to be some heroic tales to be told there. So we're putting some shots out onto the enemy battleship off in the distance. What is that? I think it's a New Mexico, maybe? If it is, that's pretty great, because our guns are just going to tear right through that enemy New Mexico. As long as they don't land on the turrets, we should end up getting some nice damage. But I mean, where there's only the 2 enemy ships remaining, all of our allies are going to be focusing on these players. So these players won't be lasting too long at all. We can see on the minimap that some of our allies have managed to move into the enemy base, and we have, in fact, started to cap it. Not really that big of a deal, though. We're probably going to win anyway. But it's always a good safe fallback, right? If something crazy were to happen, at the very least, you're capping the enemy base, preventing the enemies from gaining any more points. So there we go. We do manage to get the kill on the enemy New Mexico, so that's not too bad at all. Now we just have this enemy NorCal to finish off, and victory will be ours. We're sitting on about 101,000 damage, so that's not too bad. Started off pretty slow there with the old damage scales, but once those enemy ships got closer into us, we really did start dishing out some damage there. And I mean, obviously we got the Citadel on the enemy NorCal as well, which always equates to quite a bit of damage done. Now keep in mind too that the Bismarck is, or rather this is Old Dog's first time in the Bismarck, first time playing her, and finally being able to take her out. And I'm hoping that this left a pretty positive impression about the Bismarck on Old Dog, because the Bismarck is one hell of a battleship. I mean, she can do a lot of things very, very well. In conjunction with other battleships, she's very good. Basically, what I'm getting at is the Bismarck is good, medium to close in. If you need like long-range battleship work, Bismarck is not going to be the ship of choice. She can do it, but it's just not going to be that great. I mean, anyone with the Bismarck themselves or turbines would know exactly what I'm talking about in terms of the old German dispersion. So the enemy NorCal turns into us and gives us a nice broadside. So we're going to take advantage of this. You can see our secondary batteries are opening up in the player as well. Hopefully we'll be able to get a few shots into the NorCal before our allies manage to finish the player off. Maybe get ourselves one more kill, a little bit more damage. Could always use a little bit more damage. Luckily for us, German secondaries are, in action, and we are slowly gaining a bit of damage over time here as well. Which is another great thing about these secondaries, just in terms of DPM. It does increase your DPM overall. And there we go, we do get the victory, and managed that kill on the enemy Bismarck. It was a bit of a quick transition there, but we did get the kill on the enemy Bismarck. So 4 kills, 2 close quarter expert medals, and a devastating strike. We do finish top of the team overall, over 1,000 base experience. And we can see that you know, most of our team did pretty decently. There were a few standouts, obviously, but overall, the team was there, and they held their own. We can see how some of the damage has been dealt, or some of the damage as it breaks down in terms of ships and what we've done. And then, when all is said and done, we do end up with walking away with 190,000 credits and 3,100 experience as well, which is not too bad. Anyway, that is the video today. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. I love reading those and responding back to them. Remember to hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you are not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.